I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about let people lose you. You know, when we care about somebody, we want to hold on to the relationship, we want to take care of them, we want them in our life, and letting them go is one of the hardest things we have to do. But sometimes we have to let people lose us. Sometimes people have to see what life is like without you. I see this all the time. One of the biggest mistakes I think we make as human beings is assuming someone's always going to be in our life, that they're not going to get tired of certain kind of behaviors or their needs not being met or something that's making them unhappy and that they leave. But people just have a tendency to take people for granted. Okay, even great partners can take people for granted somewhat, right? So it's always good to remind yourself that someone could leave your life if you're not good to them. So it's always good to be a good friend or a family member, a partner, because if you really care about somebody and you want them in your life, you need to show them with your actions and your words. But you may be in a situation where somebody has taken you for granted. It happens a lot. And maybe it's a partner that you were dating. Maybe it was somebody that you've been with for a long time. And you started to see that they weren't showing you how much they valued you anymore. They were taking you for granted. And yeah, there's going to be some people that are worse than others. And I think this has to do with someone's mental health or their stress level, or maybe if they feel like they're being pulled in a lot of different directions. So the stress level in somebody's life is really going to play an impact on them. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like you can't get to that place where you're really seeing how you're impacting your partner a lot of times if you're struggling every day with daily life, getting to work, taking care of work and responsibilities. But one of the big mistakes I see people make is that they assume that because you have a high interest level as a partner, maybe you've been a partner who's really been attentive and, invested and taking care of them and doing what you can to nurture them and the connection. Sometimes people assume that just because your interest level's high now, that it's always going to stay high. In fact, they may even make comments like, oh, you're obsessed with me. I've heard that. You're obsessed with me. You're so obsessed with me. It's like, hold on a minute. No. I'm trying to be a good partner for you. And if you're mistaking that as obsession, then perhaps you need to rethink the way you look at relationships and, somebody trying to be a good partner for you and take care of you and value you and giving you kindness. Okay? A lot of times people don't know what they got until it's gone. You've heard that expression. We've all heard it. And there is some truth to it. People don't realize what they have until they're gone. And so if you are being taken advantage of and taken for granted, like I've been talking about, then it just may be time for them to lose you. If you know that you were a really good partner and you showed up for them and people told you how great you were to that person and how much you took care of them and they were, being really supportive to you, like friends or family, and they're saying, you know what, I saw you were a great partner and, I think you were great to them, so I think they're crazy for leaving you. You have to believe in yourself, okay? You have to believe that you were a good partner and you need to know it deep in your heart. And it's so hard because you're going to question everything. You're going to doubt yourself. And it's okay to have some doubts because a lot of times that leads to exploration and growth. But you'll see there is real value in letting somebody lose you, okay? As hard as it may be. Now, I'm talking especially in regards to a breakup where somebody's ended the relationship. They said they don't want to do it anymore, okay? Especially in that situation. I'm not saying, to do this necessarily if you're in a dating situation or you're still together, right? You want to try and act like adults and communicate. But maybe giving a little space there would be helpful. But I got a really good email today where, to me, this one was just screaming at me. This woman needs to lose this guy because she's not really valuing him. Let's see what you guys think. This is a guy in his mid-30s dating a woman in her early 30s for a little bit over a year and a half. He said, "I learned a lot from your channel, and I was hoping you could help me with my situation. Feel free to make a video on it." When you guys do an email coaching, by the way, I always ask if you want me to do a video on it or to consider doing a video on it. I can't do videos on all the emails I get, but I always ask. And so if you like that, great. I always make it anonymous, change names, and make things vague. If you don't, totally okay too. I will start by saying I've been working hard on myself the last few months. Your channel and materials have been helpful in my journey. I realized that my girlfriend and I were caught in the anxious-avoidant trap and that I wasn't in my masculine in the relationship. I always tried to be a great partner, but I don't think I allowed her the space to show up for me in the relationship. And believe it or not, that's really important. A relationship is not supposed to be one-sided. It needs two people to take care of it. Okay, and sometimes if one person is really kind of overdoing it, it doesn't allow the other person the ability to do it. So you got to be mindful of that. I often planned a lot of fun, elaborate dates. I spent a lot of time trying to make her happy, and I think the relationship became too one-sided. I helped her financially at times. I was always available for her, but I think it was too much. It can be. Believe it or not, it can be too much and overwhelming at times. So I know it's tough to be critical of somebody that is really trying to help, but the dynamic could really get thrown off here, especially with the anxious and avoidant. We've got an avoidant woman here, an anxious guy. He's kind of taking on this nurturing caretaker role, it feels like, and that can really hurt attraction. For example, she didn't really care about trying to make me happy. If I wanted to see a performer or a comedian coming into town, was it me? I'm just kidding. I don't do comedy like I used to. I used to do it a lot before my kids, but now I don't have the time, especially with doing the channel, and I'm always busy working on the channel, working on stuff for you guys, so I don't have the time to do it. But I did work with some of the great comics out there, and I still have a big appreciation for it. And if you know Larry David, tell him to call me. I would love to meet Larry David. She would tell me to go out with my friends. She didn't like being inconvenienced to do things she didn't really enjoy or feel like doing. Okay, so he would want to go see the comedy shows or performers or things that were coming into town, and instead of saying, okay, I'll go with him, or the guy in this situation, she would say, well, go with your friends. She didn't sacrifice the way that I did. Many avoidants are going to really struggle with that. If you're avoidant, this is something you really want to do differently when your ex comes back. Sacrifice things that you don't want to do to make them happy. I would do things with her that I didn't really enjoy because I simply wanted to spend time with her. We rarely got into arguments, but I think part of that is I learned what she liked and didn't like and didn't push her to do the things that I knew she didn't really want to do. It's kind of like walking on eggshells, but yeah, I mean, you have to know your partner, but how much are you sacrificing at this point? How much of you and your needs are you sacrificing? I would often give her lots of compliments and affection. I think it was just too much, and I think I took on more of the feminine role in the relationship. Well, we don't talk about this a lot, but there is truth to men needing to be in their masculine in their relationship, and women tend to be in their feminine in the relationship. And it really does help the polarity and the connection. If the guy starts acting too feminine, in her opinion, a lot of times the woman is going to get turned off. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here, right? Even though he's a great partner in a lot of ways, it feels too much. It feels like, he's acting kind of like the caregiver, the nurturer, the motherly figure. And that really does turn women off. Ladies, you can share comments if you've ever experienced a guy who does this. And a lot of times they'll even say, I don't understand. You're great to me, but I don't know why. I just don't feel it. I've tried to feel it, but I just don't feel it. In fact, I did another email coaching just the other day talking about that same thing. The woman's like, I'm trying, but I don't know what it is. You're often going to hear similar things when that's happening. She would prioritize hobbies and friends. Sometimes when I would ask for some time with her, she would get frustrated and irritated. Communication with her wasn't always easy. She had difficulty opening up, sharing feelings, and I felt like she avoided difficult topics. I tried to reassure her that I wouldn't judge her, that she could open up with me as much as possible, and that I would accept her. I think she was still very guarded, even though I would never judge her for something, and I tried to comfort her by telling her how important she was to me. She told me that she appreciated it, but so much closeness was making her feel smothered. Okay, so she did articulate it. But a lot of times when we hear it, it just doesn't register. We don't have that click in that moment because we're so upset and we're so scared. She couldn't explain why, but she said her feelings were becoming more platonic. And at this point, you're like, no, how do I fix this? You want to repair. It's hard to see that we need to back off and let her miss and her repair things. Let her miss you. Let her start to feel like she's losing you because she's taking you for granted. And part of that is on you. You're not giving her enough space to not take you for granted. Okay? We have to be responsible for that too, that aspect of ourselves too. So it can be tough because you're trying to do the right thing, but you have to stay balanced. Of course, I tried even harder at that point, but it made things worse. I'm pretty sure I overwhelmed her since I noticed she went cold and responded with short replies in her text for the next few weeks. She gave excuses about work and family, but I knew it had to be more. When we met up, we talked a lot about things feeling off. She couldn't explain it. Boy, I hear this one a lot. Women are, so tied to how they feel. They're not as logical with things that men are, and it's not an insult. It's just that women tend to be so connected to how they're feeling about things that it really kind of rules how they navigate their life. And if things feel off in the connection, they're just not going to stay. And so, guys, you have to really stay in your masculine and be careful of, overdoing it here like he did. And I know he had the right intentions, but it feels like his anxiety was causing him to be too much. And she, in turn, kind of became more avoidant, and it just kind of got worse and worse. She said she didn't want to feel that way, and that I did everything right, that I was a great guy, that I treated her better than anyone else has. She went on to say how wonderful I treated her. I don't understand how I could be so perfect but not be right for her. What happened? What are my chances of turning this around? Okay, well, I think what happened is kind of what I've been explaining all along. You were too much of the caretaker here. You were a little bit too much, too overwhelming, too intense. Women like guys who are a little bit more hands-off. They want to miss the guy. I know some women are going to say, no, I would love to have a guy like that. Yeah, and then you get a guy like that, and this is usually what happens with him. So unfortunately, women like to be able to come to men, and they like to miss a guy. That's really important for women. They like to miss a guy. For some reason, when they miss a guy, it makes them feel like, you know what? I still really do care about this guy. I miss him. I think about him. I want to spend my time with him. And the more you give her the space to miss you, the more she's going to appreciate you when she has that time with you. But if you're trying to spend a lot more time with her than she wants or needs or can handle, it's going to be off-putting. It's going to throw off the vibe, the connection, the attraction, that lust, that magnetic connection that we have, that polarity. It just gets thrown off, and we wind up in these kind of situations. So you really have to be careful. We want you to be good partners, but there tends to be that masculine, feminine polarity in relationships. This happens in gay relationships. This happens in lesbian relationships. Now, I'm not saying it happens in all relationships, but it does happen in many. And so if you're in a situation where you're hearing similar things, take a look and see if you were, too much, too overwhelming, especially if you were a guy and you were trying too hard to please her. Women don't like a pleaser, okay? You would think that they would want somebody who does these things, but they don't, okay? I don't know why it is the way that it is, but it is the way that it is. And it's just one of these things where I see lots of breakups when things like this happen. But I do think you were a great partner in a lot of ways. And so I want to commend you for really trying to be there for her and show up for her. And so I do think that if you allow her time and space to miss you, she could start to feel that spark and loss again. But she needs to lose you. She needs to fear that she's lost you. She needs to see that you're not going to reach out or chase, and that you're genuinely moving on with your life. Okay, when you start to do that, she's likely going to start to reach out more and more. But don't bombard her. Don't come on too strong. Definitely don't look eager. You got to be more relaxed and reserved in turning this around, and do all the strategies that I discuss in depth in a lot of the other videos. But I do think that if she feels this loss, she's going to realize, I am going to miss out on a great guy here. What am I doing? But when you start to repair things, you can't go back to those old ways, or she's going to start to lose that attraction again and start to say the things that she did here towards the end of the relationship. Okay? So hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. You can get my creative healing course and my workbooks only on the website. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.